The silent arrival. The chamber of the Galactic Council shimmered with artificial starlight, 100 species arrayed in a semicircle of polished obsidian. At the center stood a holographic image of a blue-green world, rich in oceans and clouds, its surface crawling with signals of primitive industry. Designation: Sol 3, droned the Council's archivist. Native species: Homo sapiens. Current stage: Atomic age. Local propulsion: Chemical rockets. Predicted threat index: Negligible. Ripples of amusement coursed through the chamber. The Kharix Dominion's representative, a towering insectoid wrapped in ceremonial armor, clicked its mandibles. A planet of squabbling bipeds, it said. They burn hydrocarbons for energy. Their weapons still rely on propellant. Their politics: chaotic. They are ripe for harvest. Murmurs of agreement followed. The Dominion's fleets were undefeated in centuries of conquest. To add Earth to their territory was not a matter of if, but how quickly. But not every voice was so certain. A smaller delegate, scaled and reptilian, adjusted its translator collar and cleared its throat. If I may, humans adapt. Their history shows rapid leaps. In a few thousand of their years, they advanced from stone to silicon. In the last century alone, they split the atom and reached their moon. Their wars, though brutal, sharpened them. The chamber quieted. Then came the laughter. Your caution is noted, the Kharix envoy sneered, but misplaced. These bipeds are reckless children. They play at war because they know nothing of true conflict. Against our fleets, their resistance will last hours, not days. The hologram shifted, displaying grainy footage collected by Dominion scouts. Humans in drab uniforms fired rifles in drills. Jets streaked across the sky in tight formations. Armored vehicles rolled over muddy fields. Observe their disorder, the envoy said with a disdainful wave. No unifying command, no standardized fleet. Each tribe fights for itself. They lack discipline, cohesion, and above all, vision. They are bound to their soil while we roam the stars. The reptilian delegate's frill twitched. And yet, every simulation we have run ends unpredictably. They do not collapse under pressure as expected. They improvise. That word lingered, alien tongues finding it strange, almost distasteful. Improvise. But the Council had already decided. Votes flashed across the chamber in beams of color. Conquest approved. Within hours, orders spread through the Dominion fleet. Carriers larger than mountains shifted course, angling toward a small star system in the spiral arm of the galaxy. Their crews prepared with routine confidence, for they had seen this cycle countless times. Find a young species, crush its defenses, strip its world of resources. Earth would be no different. Far below, humanity went about its unknowing days. In a bustling city, a boy raced down cracked pavement, chasing a ball while his mother shouted after him. In a desert half a world away, soldiers tested drones under the blistering sun, complaining about heat and pay. In quiet laboratories, engineers sketched equations they hoped might push mankind further into space. None of them knew that eyes older than their civilization had already judged them weak. Above Earth's atmosphere, invisible to human telescopes, Kharix reconnaissance craft drifted. Their sensors swept continents, measuring population centers, cataloging weapon stockpiles, eavesdropping on communications. The reports were almost insulting in their simplicity. Assessment: humans possess no orbital defense network. Nuclear weapons exist but are primitive and few. Militaries divided by political boundaries. Resistance expected to be chaotic but unsustainable. Recommend immediate subjugation. Yet, even among the alien crew, unease stirred. The scouts had watched humans long enough to glimpse strange patterns. Soldiers fighting on despite hopeless odds, engineers turning failures into breakthroughs overnight, communities rebuilding within days of disaster. Their captain dismissed such observations. They are short-lived, he said coldly. They rush because they die quickly. They endure because they know nothing else. But endurance without power is nothing. They will kneel. His words, confident and cruel, were relayed back to the Dominion High Command. No one bothered to ask if the humans might choose differently. In the council chamber, the reptilian delegate gave one final warning, voice low but urgent. Be wary. I have studied them longer than most. They fight not because they seek war, but because they refuse to bow. If you corner them, they will strike back harder than you expect. Underestimate them, and the Kharix envoy cut him off with a hiss. Enough. They are insects before a storm. The campaign is already set. The chamber lights dimmed, the holographic earth shrinking to a single blue speck. In the silence that followed, only the reptilian's whisper lingered. Then may the stars forgive you when they prove you wrong. First contact, first blood. The invasion began with silence. One moment the skies over Earth were bright with sun and drifting clouds. The next, shadows cut across cities as shapes blotted out the light. Ships vast enough to dwarf skyscrapers, sliding into position with machine precision. For a heartbeat, the world froze. People stopped in the middle of streets, staring upward. Phones rose into the air to capture shaky videos. On news broadcasts, anchors stammered half-finished words. Then the bombardments began. Columns of fire erupted from orbit, precision strikes lancing down into military bases, communication hubs, and power plants. Explosions rippled across continents in seconds. The Dominion had studied humanity well enough to target its infrastructure, believing a few surgical blows would collapse resistance. But Earth did not collapse. In Washington, London, Beijing, Moscow, and countless other capitals, military networks crackled to life. Leaders barked orders, chain-of-command protocols activating with a speed that surprised even themselves. Armies mobilized within hours, jets screamed into the sky, and civilian volunteers flooded hospitals and shelters. The Kharix expected panic. Instead, they encountered defiance. In the ruins of a targeted airbase, Colonel Ramirez stood amidst the smoke. His unit had lost half its aircraft in the first strike, yet the survivors were already scrambling to ready the rest. Mechanics with burned hands worked side by side with pilots, hauling ammunition by hand when loaders failed. "Sir, their ships jam everything above short-range radio," a lieutenant reported. "Then we use runners," Ramirez snapped. "If they want us deaf, we'll shout louder." Within minutes, soldiers were racing across fields with written orders, just as their ancestors had centuries before. The alien assumption that cutting communications would paralyze command proved false. Humans reverted instantly to older, cruder methods. In orbit, a Kharix commander watched the resistance unfold. "Strange," he muttered, mandibles clicking. "They should be scattering in terror. Instead they converge." His second officer chittered agreement. "They are illogical. They fight with damaged craft, with weapons inferior to ours. This should not be effective." And yet it was. Human fighter jets, hopelessly outmatched in technology, used swarm tactics, diving and weaving in patterns no AI prediction system could anticipate. Their formations broke and reformed with chaotic brilliance, overwhelming Kharix targeting arrays. Several Dominion escorts fell in flaming arcs, struck by missiles that should never have penetrated their shields. In the Middle East, guerrilla fighters dragged captured alien drones into hidden workshops. Within hours, crude viruses designed by local hackers infected their systems, causing Dominion patrol craft to fire wildly or shut down mid-flight. Improvised explosives, planted by hands calloused from decades of insurgency, crippled Kharix walkers in urban streets. The aliens expected disorganized violence. What they encountered was practiced resistance, a species that had fought itself endlessly and learned every ugly trick of survival. Elsewhere, ordinary civilians rose. Firefighters pulled survivors from the wreckage of collapsed hospitals while ignoring the thunder of orbital bombardments above. Families crammed into subway tunnels, sharing food and water, their resolve hardening with each rumble. Children in bunkers drew pictures of humans shooting down alien invaders, tacking them to concrete walls like banners of defiance. This spirit confused the Dominion as much as it enraged them. Their simulations predicted surrender after the first wave of strikes. Instead, humanity was only growing angrier. By the third day, cracks showed in the Kharix confidence. Reports from commanders repeated the same phrase, "They are not breaking." One ground officer transmitted in disbelief, "We reduced 3 of their cities to rubble. Their forces should have fractured. Instead, their militias doubled. Civilians fight beside soldiers. They use weapons centuries obsolete, yet still they kill us." His superior dismissed him with a hiss. Irrelevant. The primitives are exhausting themselves. They cannot match us in numbers or technology. But even he hesitated before closing the channel, for he had seen the footage himself, humans charging through gunfire with nothing but rifles and Molotovs, striking down warriors twice their size. In South America, resistance fighters detonated explosives beneath a Dominion landing zone, destroying an entire column of armored units. The survivors were dragged from their wreckage and stripped of gear within minutes, the technology ferried away to hidden labs. Humanity was not just resisting. It was learning. On the evening of the 5th day, as the Dominion prepared a second orbital strike campaign, a young Kharix officer dared to speak aloud the thought gnawing at many of them. "Commander, perhaps the analysts were wrong. Perhaps this species is more dangerous than we believed." The commander's mandibles clicked slowly, unease flickering in his many eyes. Outside the viewport, smoke rose from Earth's surface like scars. He whispered the words no Kharix had ever spoken before. They are adapting. The turning tide. The Dominion believed time favored them. Their fleets still orbited Earth in numbers that dwarfed human navies. Their ground forces occupied swathes of territory. Their commanders repeated the same refrain, "It is only a matter of attrition." But humanity refused to play by their rules. In a secure bunker beneath the Rockies, scientists huddled around the shattered hull of a captured drone. Its circuitry glowed faintly, alien lines of code scrolling across salvaged screens. "They thought we'd need decades to understand this," muttered Dr. Aurora, soldering wires with trembling hands. "But we've been breaking each other's codes for centuries." Her team wasn't alone. Across the globe, engineers, hackers, and soldiers cracked open alien tech, reverse engineering what they could, jury-rigging the rest. Within weeks, hybrid weapons emerged, crude railguns bolted to human tanks, missile guidance systems piggybacking on alien processors, fighter jets refitted with stolen shield emitters. Each invention was rough, unstable, dangerous even to its own operators. But it worked. At sea, the USS Ardent surfaced in the dead of night. Its crew watched alien warships glide above the waves, complacent in their superiority. "Targets locked," the captain whispered. The submarine launched a spread of torpedoes, but not ordinary ones. Each carried scavenged alien power cores, rigged to detonate with catastrophic force. The ocean erupted as 2 Dominion cruisers vanished in blossoms of water and fire. The survivors fled, stunned. No simulation had prepared them for war beneath the seas. In orbit, the Dominion pressed their assault, but human ingenuity found another path. Engineers repurposed decommissioned satellites, programming them to dive on alien carriers as kinetic projectiles. One by one, streaks of light tore through the night sky. Dominion hulls cracked under the sheer physics of impact, raining debris into the atmosphere. Stone Age weapons, a Kharix officer spat, watching another carrier fall. "They throw rocks at us." But the rocks were working. The battle for Tokyo became a symbol of humanity's turning tide. Dominion walkers stalked the city streets, their plasma cannons tearing through buildings. But the defenders had prepared. Japanese self-defense forces lured the machines into tight alleys rigged with explosives. Civilians hurled Molotovs from rooftops, blinding sensors. In a final act of audacity, a commuter train was set on a collision course, loaded with stolen munitions. It smashed into the alien line, detonating in a thunderclap that shattered half the Dominion formation. When the smoke cleared, the survivors raised a torn Japanese flag amid the rubble. Broadcasts of their victory spread worldwide, a rallying cry for resistance. For the Dominion, the war was no longer a routine conquest. Their commanders' reports grew frantic. Enemy adapts too quickly. Casualties higher than predicted. Human resistance unpredictable. Models failing. The word unpredictable echoed through their fleet. It was the one variable their algorithms could not account for. In a decisive gambit, humanity prepared its most reckless strike yet. Military leaders coordinated a plan across continents, lure a Dominion fleet into Earth's atmosphere, then unleash nuclear weapons at point-blank range. The proposal horrified even seasoned generals. "We'll burn our own skies," one warned. But the alternative was extinction. The operation began at dawn. Human forces launched a massive, seemingly desperate assault, drawing Dominion fleets lower, ever lower, into the atmosphere. Fighter jets screamed upward in suicidal charges. Ground batteries fired until their barrels melted. The aliens, certain they had cornered their prey, pressed the advantage. That was when humanity revealed its trap. Dozens of nuclear warheads ignited simultaneously. The sky became a sun. Shock waves rippled across continents, tearing Dominion vessels apart in a storm of fire. Entire fleets disintegrated in minutes. Billions watched from bunkers, eyes wide as the heavens themselves seemed to collapse. When the light faded, Earth was scarred, but the Dominion fleet was shattered. In the aftermath, a captured alien transmission spread through resistance networks. It was a voice, broken and trembling, from a surviving commander. The humans, they should have surrendered. Their weapons are crude, their strategies reckless. Yet they destroyed us. They fight without reason, without logic. They fight until nothing remains. The human danger was underestimated. A new reckoning. The war ended not with a clean victory, but with silence. Dominion wreckage still burned in orbit, scattering trails of molten metal across the night sky. Craters scarred the Earth where nuclear fire had blossomed. Cities smoldered, their skylines jagged with broken glass and twisted steel. Humanity had paid dearly, but humanity had endured. And for the first time in living memory, the nations of Earth spoke with one voice. In Geneva, leaders gathered in an underground hall converted into a global command center. Flags of dozens of countries hung side by side, soot-stained but unbowed. Generals reported casualty counts in the millions. Scientists presented stolen alien cores, humming with power beyond imagination. No one pretended this was a return to peace. It was a reckoning. "We survived," said President Adebayo of Nigeria, voice carrying over the weary assembly. "Not because we were stronger, but because we refused to bow." The question before us now is simple. Do we rebuild only for ourselves, or do we prepare for what comes next? The silence that followed was heavy with the knowledge of the galaxy watching. In laboratories from Berlin to Bangalore, engineers dismantled captured Dominion ships. The secrets of faster-than-light drives and energy shields, once mysteries of the stars, now lay within human grasp. The work was perilous. Several prototypes exploded in violent flashes. But failure did not deter. Humanity had lived on failure for millennia, turning broken tools into stepping stones. Within months, crude human-alien hybrid vessels took shape, ugly but functional, painted with flags and slogans in dozens of languages. The age of isolation was over. Yet beyond Earth, whispers spread. Across the galaxy, the Dominion's humiliation shocked empires that had long feared no rival. Smaller civilizations, once resigned to servitude, now whispered the name of humanity with awe. In the chambers of the Galactic Council, the reptilian delegate who had warned of Earth stood tall. "You mocked my caution," he told the assembly, voice edged with grim triumph. "You called them children. But children do not drag fleets from the sky. Children do not poison war machines with crude viruses or hurl their own stars at invaders. These are not children. They are survivors." One counselor, his scales pale with unease, whispered, "What if they come here?" The hall fell silent. On Earth, ordinary people adjusted to the strange new world. In Tokyo, children scavenged alien debris to make toys shaped like the ships that once hunted them. In Rio, murals bloomed across ruined walls, depicting humans holding the Earth against the stars. In Cairo, farmers planted seeds in soil blackened by plasma fire, determined that life would return. Humanity's resilience was no longer just survival, it was defiance, painted across the scars of war. But among the Dominion survivors, fear festered like an open wound. A single Kharix warlord stood before what remained of his council. His armor was scorched, his mandibles cracked, but his voice carried a raw conviction born of failure. "You do not understand what we faced," he rasped. "They have no single ruler, no unified creed. Yet they fight as though bound by one will. They improvise with madness, they endure with fury, and when cornered, they do not submit, they bite." His officers shifted uneasily. "Then what do you propose?" The warlord's many eyes gleamed. "We leave them be. For now. If we provoke them again, the galaxy itself will bleed. The humans are no longer prey. They are predators." Back on Earth, a young girl in a bunker scribbled a message on a scrap of paper. Her father had fallen in the defense of her city, yet her eyes shone with determination as she taped the note to a cracked wall. It read simply, "We are still here." The message spread across resistance networks, painted on rubble, broadcast across the airwaves. It became the slogan of a new era. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. It would not make that mistake again. For the humans had endured fire, ash, and invasion, and in doing so, they had found their unity. And unity, in the hands of such a dangerous species, was not survival. It was the beginning of conquest.